Hi friends, welcome to Cultivating Keepsakes. I'm Eden and I'm so glad you're here. Today I'm taking this ice cream play set from the plus section at Dollar Tree, along with some other things like this plaster Paris ice cream cone that I made using a mold from Temu. Once it was set and ready to go, I took my Waverly chalk paint in the color cashew and gave it one good coat, and then I ended up mixing in some classic caramel from Apple Barrel to get a little bit of a darker color for it and gave it another two coats. And then for these two little pieces from the play set, the waffle cone and the waffle bowl, I took the Apple Barrel Classic Caramel and gave them each four coats, letting them dry in between. And then once they were dry, I started working on the ice cream parts. I took my Crayola Model Magic and conditioned it real good. You always have to do that when you start with your clay. And once it was conditioned, I started rolling it in like a bowl, not a bowl, sorry, a ball slash oval, and kind of rolled it on the mat and in my hands until I got your basic ghost shape. And then I used my fingers to start pulling out pieces from the bottom to make it look like a melted ghost ice cream, which is exactly what I'm going for here. This one will be used with the little waffle cone. And I just smoothed it out and kept, fixing it until I got it exactly the way I wanted. And while I'm doing that, I'll tell you that I did not think I was going to start Halloween this early, but I was inspired by a melting skull ice cream I seen at Michael's, and I just couldn't help myself. So once that was done, I put that to the side to dry, and then I used some more Model Magic and rolled it into a ball, and then kind of pressed it down a little bit and made an indent in the top with my finger. And then I took my clay cutter and went around the whole thing, making lines because we're making a pumpkin this time. And I was just checking to make sure it was going to fit on my cone, and then fixed some lines that weren't quite indented enough for me. And then I took my Model Magic and I mixed it with a little bit of this foam clay I got from Temu. This clay is really sticky, so I don't really use it on its own too much, but it worked great for mixing in with the Model Magic and getting it to be the color pink that I wanted, because I'm going with a pink, black, and white theme for this little set. And then I did the exact same thing I did with the white one, except for instead of using my finger to indent it, I used the bottom of a paintbrush just so it was a little smaller. But other than that exact same technique, roll it in a ball, use my cutter to make score lines, check and make sure it was the same, not the same size, but the size that I needed it to be. And once that was done, I also added, because this is going to be my top one, I added a little stem to it using some brown foam clay that I had gotten in a set. It's just like your basic kids clay set. And then I just put that on the top of my pumpkin where the little indent was. And I used a little razor to make some lines in the stem, but honestly they don't end up showing up very well. So you could probably either skip this step or do it better than me and, go a little deeper. But then I made sure that it fit the way I wanted it on top of my other pumpkin and on top of my cone. And then I started working on my ice cream sandwich. So I used some black Crayola Model Magic and I just rolled it into a ball and then flattened it out. And then I used my rolling pin to get it to the thickness that I wanted and big enough to use my cookie cutter. I got this Tombstone cookie cutter from Dollar Tree a couple years ago, and I just cut it out, pulled away the excess, and then kind of smoothed out the edges a bit. And I set that to the side and made another one exactly the same way. And then once I had both of them made, I used this little coffee stir. You can also use a toothpick. And I just made little indents like the circles that are usually in an ice cream sandwich cookie. And I did that for both of them. And then I took my pink clay and I rolled that out as well and did the same thing, except I did do it a little thicker because I wanted the ice cream part to be thicker. And we're using that as our strawberry ice cream. And then I just lined them up and put them together. And that was it. That one was really easy to do. And then I just sat that to the side to dry. And then for my little waffle bowl, I'm making a sundae. So I used some Dollar Tree spackle mixed with some white chalk paint. I would have actually preferred acrylic paint, but I didn't have any in white. And I mixed it with the spackle, that way when it dried, it wouldn't dry like the off-white color. It would be actually white, like my vanilla ice cream. And I used my little scoop to make 3 ice cream scoops. And then I sat that to the side to dry as well. That takes a good 24 hours too, so there's a lot of dry time in this project. But other than the dry time, it's really quick. Then I took this little Oreo I made out of foam clay. I used the Model Magic both in black and white and a mold I got from Temu. And then I took this wire and made little legs because we're making a little cookie spider. I just did 4 on each side, and using my wire cutters, I just cut off the pieces and pushed them right into the clay. This was dry. It had been dry actually for weeks because it was from a different project that I had left over. And then I sat that to the side, and I took my little sundae cup and this cone. I got it from Temu. It's a 3-inch cone, and it fit really well inside of the sundae cup. And I used my DAP lightweight spackle in an icing bag with a star tip and just circled around so that it would look like a big old whipped cream. And then what did I do next? Oh yeah, straw. So I took a dowel piece and I pushed that in so that it would go into the little foam cone. And I cut that off to the size I wanted, and then cut my straw so that it would fit on top of that little dowel, and then I just slid it on. There you go. And then I had these faux sprinkles that I got from Temu, and I just took out the black regular looking sprinkles and I put them all around my whipped cream. And then I did the same thing with these other faux sprinkles that I had gotten actually from Amazon, except I took the pink ones out and I added those to the whipped cream as well. And then I took my little spider cookie and I added googly eyes, which I thought made him look so cute. And I just used hot glue to attach those. And then I sat the little spider on top of my sundae on the whipped cream. And that was it for my sundae. I just had to let it dry after that. I think it's so adorable. I hope you guys like it. Oh, I did get some glue strings, so I just pulled them off using my tweezers. They are the bane of my existence, I swear. Glue strings, always. And then I took some more of my Model Magic and I just rolled it and then flattened it as well. And I took my cake cone, the one that was made of plaster, and made sure that it was the right size because I wanted to do a drip to put under the pumpkins so it looked like the white pumpkin was, melting a little bit and dripping all over the cone. And I just cut out a rough shape of drips. I wish I had a drip cookie cutter. I see people with them all the time. I really need to get one, but I don't. So I just did it this way. And once I got the rough shape cut out, I just used my fingers to kind of pull and move it around the way I wanted. I set it on top of the cone, and that was it for this one. For now, I just kind of sat them on top, and then I did end up cutting out my jack-o'-lantern face with my Cricut using just black vinyl, and I added that to my top pumpkin. And then for my little sundae, I had these bats that I had gotten, I think, from Target, but I'm not 100% positive, and some faux sprinkles that had bats in them as well, and then this pink puffy paint, and I used the puffy paint to look like sauce drizzled over it, and then I used some of my DAP lightweight spackle and made, oh wait, I guess I added some bats first. So I just took the black bats out of this pack and added them around on the drip, and then I took my DAP lightweight spackle and I made a little poof of whipped cream, and on my whipped cream is where I added the other bats that weren't the faux sprinkles. I had two different sizes of them, so I used the small ones around the whipped cream, and then I used a bigger one at the top. And then when I was done with this and it was all dry, I added a little pink spoon with a black and white check bow on the handle. I didn't show that, sorry. I thought I had actually taped me painting it, but I couldn't find it, so I guess I did not. And then that was it. Here's my little milkshake, my ice cream sandwich, my sundae, my jack-o'-lantern ice cream cone, my little ghost ice cream cone. I really love these. I think they're so adorable. I hope you like them too. You'll have to let me know which one is your favorite down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!